Welcome to another episode of the Terry and Frank Show. We are going to dig even deeper into belonging. Belonging is one of those things that is just indispensable. If you really want to have diversity, equity, and inclusion, you need belonging for everyone. And this week, as we promised, we're going to be exploring how enablement adds to the mix. If you haven't been following the show, I'm Frank Wander. I'm the founder and CEO of People Productive, a company where we create cultures so that people can absolutely give their best and then the people and company thrive together. Tara?
Yes, and I'm Terry Mays. I'm a certified culture engineer with focus on understanding the human side of business to drive value in organizations.
Yeah, thank you. So, enablement, if you watched last week's episode, we were talking about fun. Fun helps all the roots expand out. And, if you've listened to the show, you'll see that we've really talked about what is belonging and then gotten deeper and deeper into creating a real, meaningful sense of belonging where the roots grow deep and wide, the people stay, they're content. The last item we want to talk about is enablement. There are two
Yes,
aspects to this. One is organizational enablement, all the things the organization has to provide, and individual enablement, which is about making that individual productive. So, Tara,
right,
where do you want to start today?
right. Let's start with the individual enablement. I think that'll be a great way to kick it off since we're always focused on the people first.
People
And then
first.
that really plays too into the organization and enablement. You really need that in order for the people to thrive. So they really do go hand in hand. But with individual enablement, blah, blah, blah again.
You're blah, blah, blah again.
I'm blah, blah, blah again. But yeah, so with individual enablement, you're really looking for that person to have all of the right tools, the right skill sets. You want to make sure that the environment is safe for them, that they feel comfortable, that they've gotten to that place where they belong. So we talked a lot about belonging, but
Mhm.
you want people to have that sense of belonging, that they can trust the organization. All of those things really play into enablement. So, do I have everything that I need to be successful in this organization?
Yeah, and it goes beyond just the tools. It's really access to the information resources they need.
Yes,
You've got to get the individual trained and ready. They need the knowledge and skills to do the job. There's a lot of institutional knowledge that's only
right.
learned on the job. Those are the things that really drive productivity, making sure that, that institutional knowledge that is so important is gathered as quickly as possible so they can feel that they're not jumping over hurdles every day just to get their work done. Because if they're really having fun and they're enjoying the place, but work is difficult because a lot of this blocking and tackling wasn't handled, then they're going to start to get a little disengaged. And
Right. And you want to share that tribal knowledge. So things that people just know, don't have it written down anywhere.
Mhm.
There's no job aid for it. People just kind of know. Those kinds of things are usually things that are very important, and you want to make sure you share those things as well. Things that are just kind of little gotchas that you want to keep people from having to fall into that pit before they find out about the gotcha.
Yeah. And back to those sharing and helping behaviors that are so
Yes,
incredibly important to create that real deep sense of belonging, right?
yes.
Hey, we want you to succeed. We're going to help you. All that tribal knowledge, which as much as you try to capture everything, things are changing fast. So there's always a vast amount of tribal knowledge.
Right. And there's always things that you just don't really know, right? So there are things that you find out as you're going through, no matter how much documentation you have. There are some things that are just not learned until you do it. And so a lot of them, the tips and the tricks that you can learn by doing, you want to make sure you share those with other people so that they're
Mhm.
not just lost with you.
That's correct. Yeah. And then we get into, strategy, planning, and organization that they
Yes.
understand the strategy and where everybody's going so they can contribute in the best way possible. And the strategy in terms of, their role and how it
Yes.
relates to the overarching strategy. The more
Right.
we
What's
know,
the
the
end
better.
game? Right. What's the
Right.
overall goal? What are we striving for? Why are we doing what we're doing? People need to have vision and strategy and understanding of where we're going. What's the purpose for
Yeah.
all of this?
And then
Things,
the plans, how are we going to get there? And,
right,
my accountabilities, where do I fit into that? What are the
right,
different roles and responsibilities around here so that, I understand who owns what, and I don't accidentally exclude somebody who should be included. These things really, really
That's right.
matter in terms of them feeling part of the bigger picture and knowing how they fit in.
Yes. Yes, and you want to make sure that you have proper demand management so that the team is not being overwhelmed with too much work, saying yes to everything, that
Mhm.
you have some kind of method to the madness, that there's not this endless backlog of items that are just, it just never ends. So you just throw another log on the pile, so to speak. You always want to have some kind of order and structure so that people know that there's a process and
Mhm.
there's a way that we get work done here. People know what that process is. They're not surprised. They're not taken off guard when they're trying to get things done. They're able to follow the process effectively and they clearly understand it. So you don't want a process that's so convoluted and complicated that
Mhm.
people cannot get through the process. So then they just give up and quit.
Yeah, yeah. How to get decisions made, how to get a quick
Right.
yes, no answer, the things that really keep things moving. All about execution, right? The processes they have to follow, all the
Right.
tools they need to really be part of that. This stuff all comes into play, and it's what ultimately creates a great experience because when that stuff is all working, then the human side of it really is kind of front and center.
Right. Right. And then work is fun. Now you're in that space where you're getting paid to do something that you would really do for free. And
That's right.
that's the kind of environment that you want to be in. That's the work environment you want to have.
Yeah, and you want leaders who really care about the work environment. They want to make sure you're not interrupted every 10 minutes,
Right.
that they really, make interruption-free time and some think time
Mhm.
built into the schedule so that you can focus on the things that really matter. And the calibration of that work environment is super important.
Right. Right. You've got to cut out the busy work and make sure people feel like the work that they're doing matters. And then you've got to give them time to think about it. Right. So you want
Yeah.
people to bring their very best to the table, and you need time to think about what you're working on and how you can bring your very best. There have been several times where I just had so many things to work on and I didn't have enough time. So I would just carve out a little bit of time and just make it happen. And it's almost like things that I had been trying to do for weeks at a time, I could take 30 good minutes of focused time and get it done.
Yeah.
So, you try and try and try with all these multiple hats. Everybody's wearing multiple hats these days. Everybody
Oh
has
God,
so
for
many
sure.
things going on. But when
Juggling
you can
balls.
take that dedicated time and think about what you're working on and be present in the moment, it really does produce the best quality work.
Oh, it does. The culture benchmark survey we did with Rutgers University,
Mhm.
companies at that fourth quartile performing the best, what was really noteworthy was the fact that think time jumped dramatically between third and fourth quartile companies. It's just that important. And so
Yeah.
that helps people contribute more. That means the roots grow deeper,
Yeah.
right? They really feel
Absolutely.
that they're contributing more, they're having influence because they're coming up with ideas. It's super important. And I think it's overlooked by most companies. This whole notion of fully enabling the people is a real leadership competency that could be improved in most places.
Right. I agree. I think we're a society that has been trained to think that we can multitask, but the brain cannot multitask. You can only work on one thing at a time successfully. You can try and do multiple things at once, but it doesn't usually go too
No,
well.
task switching is a real penalty.
Yeah. Yeah. So the more you can give people time to really focus and be in the moment, be
Mhm.
present with what they're working on, it's amazing how much faster things get done, how much more clear things are to people. We've all been in those meetings where you're saying something or sharing some deadline or some important information, and then 5 minutes later somebody will say, so when's this due? Or what are we working on again? They just kind of weren't there, so they didn't hear you. They didn't get a chance to lock in on what was happening in the moment, so now they're asking a question that's already been answered, or they're sharing information that's
Mhm.
already been shared.
Yeah. Calibrating the work, the flow of work between people.
Yes.
Yeah, huge. So if you want people to be deeply rooted in your organization. You got to get the human side right. You got to get them fully enabled. And enablement is really how you start using their time effectively, because they could be wasting time jumping over hurdles. And if you can calibrate the flow of work and the demands, and they really know what they've got to do, and they understand who to go to get things done, what tools to use, you really have it happening.
Right.
Starts to be a great experience ultimately.
Very true. Very true.
So, last thing we could touch on is wellness. You do want, if you think about humans are this infrastructure, you want all the equipment running perfectly and as well as it can. And, I like companies that, really encourage wellness overall. Think about the person as, thriving.
Right.
And people just, whenever I go to the gym, work out and come back, boy, I'm just much more effective. My mind is clear. There's so much companies can do to really create that ultimate individual enablement where they're actually peaking. They're really feeling good.
Right.
They're in great shape. You can't force people to be in great shape, but, encouraging those things really matter.
Right. And you can encourage healthy behaviors, right? So
Yeah.
you may not necessarily just encourage people to go to the gym or to get a gym membership, but you can allow for, have a walking trail at the job or, other things that you can do that
Yeah.
encourage people. So if I see that there's a walking track, I'm more likely to go out there and walk during my lunch break or, take a 15-minute break and just go clear my head versus just sitting at my desk nonstop all day long. So, even other things that we've seen companies do, like standing desks and stuff like that, all of that just encourages wellness.
Standing desks, getting up at some frequency and moving around, resting
And
your
even
eyes a little,
standing.
looking into the distance, looking at food as healthy fuel.
Right,
Now, I remember there was a trend where companies were getting rid of these horrific vending machines full of garbage,
right,
right? Putting healthier choices in there for people. So, optimizing everything about that individual experience and their performance is ultimately what creating this deep sense of belonging is all about. So,
right.
the better the environment, the better the individual's enabled, the better the experience, the better the productivity, the deeper the roots. That's how this goes.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other thoughts, Tara?
I think we got this one again. I think it was pretty straightforward. I think we really did a
I
great
think
job
so.
covering.
We covered a lot of ground on belonging. I mean, it's
Yes,
big B belonging, not just that I'm accepted here, is really what everybody has to strive for. And I
yes,
think the series was good. So next week we'll start talking about some of the human factors of leadership. What should leaders care about? What should they think about? It's a very important subject, and every leader can lead better. The more
yeah,
they know about this human infrastructure and the equipment they've been given, then the better they can do their job.
right.
So it could be exciting. Tune in. The human factors of leadership. We'll start
Yes.
digging into this.
Don't forget
So
to subscribe, like, and share. Share this with all of your friends, all of your coworkers, people you don't like, share with them too.
yeah, absolutely. Please subscribe. We're going to put out a lot of good information. Love you to follow us.
Yes,
So smack that bell, as they always say on these YouTube videos, right?
that's right.
All right, everybody. Take care. Do have a dynamite weekend.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.